Hammerin Hank, Hall of Fame shutout, and JT stays in Philly. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you baseball along, hopefully, with Jeff the Dog Healy. We are here and we got a lot to cover on this show. The dog should be back with us momentarily. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. That's the way to do it. If you're listening to the audio, if you want to watch us, you're watching us possibly on our Facebook group right now. We have a Facebook group, Facebook page, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. That's the way you check us out. We are Diamond Diehards everywhere. So interact with us on social media. We encourage it. We want you to do that. Visit our pals at fmsgraphics.com for all of your printing and promotional needs. It's easy to use and your products will arrive quickly, especially if you make the Hall of Fame and you want to send out congratulations Hall of Fame cards, but I guess nobody's going to be doing that this year. fmsgraphics.com is where it's at. So looks like the dog had to jump off right as we were starting the show here. He had a computer crash. I'm sure he will be back on with us momentarily. So in the interim, you hurry up, ask me anything you want, because it's now what's happening is with live streaming, that's one of the risks. Your partner's computer crashes right as he starts, and that leaves one person to vamp about what's going on. We will cover the Hall of Fame stuff very much in depth with the announcement just before we came on. So right now, for perspective, it's January 26th, a Tuesday, when we are doing this show for you. And nobody was elected to the Hall of Fame for the first time since 2013. Curt Schilling, who was clearly one of the favorites to get in, was short by 20 votes last year, 16 votes this year. Next year is supposed to be his last year on the regular writers ballot before he would eventually go to the Veterans Committee. And Mr. Schilling apparently wrote a missive. Not apparently, he wrote it. I read it. So did the dog. About how he wants to be put off the ballot because he's just mentally done after this whole thing, where he feels like it's more political, the reasons, rather than baseball reasons why he is not elected to the Hall of Fame at this point. So he prepared that letter, according to him. He actually sent it to members of the Hall of Fame committee, who he was very benevolent in thanking for their treatment of him. The day before the voting results were announced. So that letter would have been sent there on Monday, and this now on Tuesday, after he is found to have come up short once again. He reveals the contents of that letter. So I think we do have the dog back in. Let's see. We have attempted to put him back in the room. Let's see if that works out here. And again, live radio, I see, let's see, Mark Weintraub, Dwayne Morris, Daniel Volpe, Brian Hansen, a few of my pals over there. There is the dog. Doug, can you hear us? You're on mute. Unmute yourself, dog.
Oh my God.
There you are.
So typical. So typical. Well, let's just kick it off with Diamond Dads tonight.
All right. So Dog, I think Dog had a computer crash literally as I hit the button to start the show, to start the stream.
Great.
That's fine. These things happen. So Dog, I gave the intro and I gave a little bit of a teaser as to what happened with Curt Schilling. Wow, that's very bright now. You look like Ghost Dog. Oh, that's a little bit better.
It was supposed to be warming to make me look healthy.
Yeah, well, you got to maybe adjust that. I have one of those light thingies that producer Xavier Rizzo got for me.
This is the dog one.
This is the dog. That's good too. I mean, that's, military grade, baby. Military grade. Speaking of military grade, we go to the dog. Finally.
For our veteran of the day,
Dog, take it away.
Welcome. Outstanding. We got a great one we've actually been waiting to use for a while here. It is Betty White. Betty White was a veteran. Who knew? Tremendous. Betty White actually served in the Army Volunteer Supply Corps, and it might be reversed. It might be Army Supply Volunteer Corps or something like that. But she basically drove a supply truck in World War II. So kind of helped move the stuff from the hometowns and everything up to the bases and the ports to get shipped over to our boys fighting overseas. So Betty White, World War II veteran of the day, still cranking away. Betty, thanks so much for your service to us during World War II.
Betty White, who just hit 99 the
The
other
Gretzky.
day. And today's Wayne Gretzky's birthday. He's 60. Number 99 is 60. Can you believe that?
Oh man, that hurts. That hurts a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. That one hurts a little bit. The big 6-0 for Wayne.
Honestly, the guy would probably still lead the Kings in assists right now. That's for all our LA listeners out there, you Kings fans, baby.
And still a great guy. You gotta love it.
He's great.
Everything's gotten in his life and stuff, and still a humble guy.
Okay, so Dog. We started out. I went to the Schilling thing kind of first. I know we teased, about Hank Aaron, Hall of Fame. JT Realmuto will also cover, the Mets moves, the Blue Jays moves, and Diamond Dads at the end. But we could maybe just I kind of feel like we weren't going to go to the Hall of Fame thing first. We kind of have to go to Hank Aaron first. Like, how could you not? I mean, this was like, I can't even tell you. Like, he just crossed all boundaries. This guy, like, this is like true greatness. The 10th Hall of Famer to die in the last 10 months. I mean, there have been some titans, but I mean, Hank Aaron is above those. I mean, even guys like Seaver. I mean,
yeah,
Hank Aaron,
he's on the Mount Rushmore, right? He's Hank Aaron. Oh, yeah. He's there.
And so I went on WNSP and my friend Dave Schultz in Mobile, Alabama on Friday, because I also do my other show, Rear Naked Choke Radio. So if you're into MMA, Conor McGregor, blah, 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 the whole thing, go check that out. Same places you can find Diamond Diehards. Look for RNC Radio or Rear Naked Choke Radio. Check that out. And I always go on there before the fights. Dave, my old buddy, who actually I know from the sports ticker days when he used to call in, and he was Dave from Wichita and I was answering phones, and we were both just, right out of school trying to scrape up a living in a shit economy. And, we're still in touch to these days. And, Dave's he's a true radio pro, but now he's in Mobile, Alabama, which is Hank Aaron's hometown. So on Friday, when Hank passed, I had my spot set up for the Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier fight, which, by the way, I totally called it. You would have completely made money if you just go back and watch that podcast, and you'll see it was like I swear I recorded it before the fight, not after. That's how spot on it was, and I do that sometimes. But anyway, I was so happy and honored that my friend Dave Schultz gave me the chance to actually lament, knowing that I have a Diamond Diehards podcast and he's been on it. I got a chance to lament to Hank's original home audience my thoughts and my feelings about him, and the words that just came up out of my head were underrated and understated. And I don't know if you could really. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I was thinking about it, and if I hashed it out over 24 hours, if I could have come up with better words that just happened to alliterate. Like, he somehow is underrated. Like, you look at the numbers and he blows away the numbers test. And then by all accounts, he, blew away the eye test. And then, as great of a player as he was, I mean, he just did things that so far transcended anything that he ever did on a baseball field. Like with civil rights and, going through that, hell of a time and of a life with death threats and everything, where, he's trying to break the immortal Babe Ruth's home run record. And, what was great, Dog, was our Vin Scully, and I call him our Vin Scully because you and I are Fordham graduates.
That's right.
And Vin Scully, paved the way for guys like us, whether we started doing it right out of school, like the Mike Breens and Michael Kays and Chris Carinos of this world, or if we picked it up, 30 whatever years later again. We all feel like Vin is our is our patriarch, and they happened to be playing the Dodgers when Aaron broke the record. He played the
Yeah.
first, they opened the season, the Braves in that season in Cincinnati in a 3-game series, and he tied the record there. And he only played 2 of the 3 games, but that was by order of the commissioner. He wasn't even He wasn't even going to play in the games. He ordered him to play in at least 2. And then he goes home, and it's on a Monday night, and there was no Monday Night Baseball yet. It was an NBC game. NBC broadcast it, and you hear the common call. The call you hear less is Vin Scully. They were playing the Dodgers, and Al Downing throws the pitch, and then you just hear Vin's
Yeah.
soliloquy.
Tremendous. Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, I must have watched it and listened to it 10 times over and over, like how he just captured the moment for us in perpetuity, and then for us to be able to see and hear and relive it, or live it, essentially. I mean, we were 4 or 5 years old at the time, so I'm sure we were watching, but we were certainly not remembering. But to relive it, like, you feel like you lived it, for us. Like, it was close enough for us. Like, I do remember watching the Brewer Hank Aaron when I was very young. I mean, I definitely remember that. And I remember being confused by, wait, he's a Milwaukee Brewer, but he was a Milwaukee Brave, but he's an Atlanta Brewer. How does that all work? My 7-year-old head was trying to figure that out. Um, I just can't. I mean, you could go through, just go on Baseball Reference and just look at the numbers, and look
Yeah.
at the longevity, and look at the seasons he was having into his late 30s, when people didn't have the benefit, or the crutch of today's nutrition or PEDs, whichever either way you want to call it. I mean, his age 37 season is, it's amazing. It's amazing. And he was a great defensive player. He maybe doesn't get as heralded as Mays, because he played right and not center. He still was able to play center. He even, popped into the infield every now and then, like second and third part of the infield, because I think he came up way,
Yeah.
way,
You
way
start. You started
originally
as a second baseman,
as a
actually.
second
Yeah.
baseman. Yeah.
Yep.
And just so many great stories. A wonderful statesman, and an ambassador, not just for baseball, but for civil rights. But how about just for humanity? Like,
Yep.
can't we just have more Hank Aaron people? Like, why couldn't that guy be president?
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, just we were just kidding around about Gretzky and stuff, right? I mean, Hank almost sort of reminds me a little bit of that. Like, just like a quiet, humble guy who's like literally the best at what he does. Um, and just sort of quietly goes out there and gets it done, and just really leads by his example, and never heard a cross word about the guy in decades, throughout his entire life. I mean, I've never once heard anyone um, with anything negative to say about the guy. um, it's interesting, there was some talk for Atlanta, that people were talking about, maybe potentially changing the name and picking up the Hammers for Hank Aaron, which I think is, even as a Met fan, that would just be a brilliant move on multiple different levels, for them. Particularly, you're going out to honor, not only one of your team's greats, but one of the baseball greats as well. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they actually make that move or not. But I think that would actually be a brilliant move from that franchise. And to have a guy to honor, there's no one better than the immortal Hank, the immortal Hank Aaron. And I did actually. It's funny when you're doing the Vin Scully. I did see Vin on his tweet put up and had his call on it, and he's just tremendous. I mean, he's just the best. He's the best ever, right? I mean, talking in another one of our Rushmores here, right? I mean, Vin is just really
Well,
defines it.
how about the confluence of Mount Rushmore guys, and that like
Yeah,
Vince Scully
exactly.
calling it, like he would never have called it if they hadn't been playing the Dodgers.
Yep.
He wouldn't have been there to call it. I mean, most certainly. I know the game did end up on national TV, but um, he would have had to have been under contract and called away from the Dodgers to actually go do that game. And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just look. that's the one. That's why we're doing a podcast called Diamond Diehards, because is there a sport that catches this stuff like baseball? I mean, is
True.
there?
True. So
And
they're doing their best to throw it away, though.
the
We're
idea,
starting on a good point.
the idea of renaming the team is kind of interesting, because I'm usually like, in head scratching mode sometimes about this stuff. Like actually, like, when you think about Hank Aaron, like, you associate it with Braves. So if they weren't called the Braves anymore, are you kind of like, you know, slashing that association? Like, are you disassociating it now? Uh, it's sort of an old school baseball thing, right? Like back 100 years ago, sometimes they wouldn't necessarily name the team that, but they would Nap Lajoie's team was the Naps. Like, ah, maybe
So
we're onto
yeah, I mean,
something here.
I would say I'm not normally a fan of renaming things and stuff like that, but this one to me just sort of kind of lines up. Where there's always the issues with the Braves and the chop and everything else like that, and for once you can actually kind of get ahead of the curve on that, and so you're not doing because you're forced to, and you're picking Atlanta baseball team for a year because you're having to do a polling and whatever else. Like, you have a great opportunity to jump in and sort of jump in and do the right thing and do it for a positive rather than being forced to do something that's negative for you. So it really is sort of like it works on both sides of it. Um, and it just, I don't know, to me, again, it sort of seems like a no-brainer to it. But I thought the Washington Red Tails was a no-brainer too. So we're still working on that one. So
In breaking news, the Cleveland Indians have decided they will rename their team the Cleveland Hammers, starting
just just
just to screw
to
them,
jump.
just to screw them over. I
Cleveland Two Highs.
love, Dog. You know what I love when we do this live stream? So we backed off a little bit on doing the live streams on like all platforms, because it was getting a little, the bang for the buck just kind of wasn't there yet. We'll get back to it at some point, but doing the Facebook lives definitely seems to work. And the one thing that we really love and that really helps the show go is the interactions. And my buddy Dwayne Morris is absolutely crushing the comments right now. Um, Jackie and Hank for Dwayne. His pops told the best stories about Hank to him. A lot of bold black numbers on the back of his baseball card, and then this, which I didn't hear: no Falcons will wear number 44 in the 21 season in tribute to Hank Aaron. It's great stuff. I mean, that's
That's
great
cool. That
stuff.
was
Like,
very cool.
yeah, and Dwayne's not only a great friend but a great fan, and he's been a great supporter of Diamond Diehards, and he's brought some people into the mix for us too. So Dwayne, you're the best. We appreciate it. And wow, I'm getting also feedback that's not on here that I'm a fashion disaster from my fashion non-consultant, Debbie Rizzo.
Oh,
Um,
I kind of
but
like the
dog,
jacket. I
but
like the
dog,
jacket.
I go jacket. Okay, so I go jacket for because it's Hall of Fame day. But look what's under the jacket.
There you go. Very nice.
How about
National
that?
Baseball Hall of Fame.
So it's not a fashion statement. It's a t-shirt statement, because I don't have a nicer shirt that says Hall of Fame on it. And this thing's like,
Gotta go.
probably 15 years old, this shirt, but I mean, I think that means it's time for a trip to get back there. By the way, great
Be
job
a
by
good year for
Brian
it.
Kenny. Great job by Brian Kenny on MLB today, doing the live shot from outside in the snowstorm. Oh, tremendous.
I missed that.
Love it. I couldn't
I was listening to Verducci. Verducci's little clip. That was okay. I mean,
Yeah, I liked it.
he's a little much. A little much. I mean, he's a little
Yeah,
much
but
now. But that was actually pretty well done. You gotta give him
I
that.
thought it was good.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the fact that like a Hank Aaron, who I idolized and just admired so much, um, the fact that it just it hurt. Like, it hurt. I was like, no, 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 man, not Hank. Like, and the enormity of it, and then like today, like the Hall of Fame, and then you and I are talking. I mean, geez, I feel like you and I met for an hour today talking about this show. Um, I don't know, it's just baseball. It's just baseball. You love baseball. It's like part of you. Baseball is like your right arm, and to have it when it's, when it's great, and when it hurts, it really hurts. Um, and that's why I think you see a guy like Curt Schilling come in. I think that's what baseball is to him. And he comes up short, and he releases a letter that he wrote the day before to the Hall of Fame, and asking basically for take me off the ballot next year, my last year of eligibility. I don't consider myself a Hall of Famer, but if the players on the Veterans Committee decide to vote me in, then that's an honor I'll accept gladly. Meanwhile, it's not just players on the Veterans Committee. There are only like 4 players, I think, on the Veterans Committee last year. So he's maybe he has that a little juxtaposed, but um, Dog, Schilling's in our wheelhouse, right? We
Mhm.
saw we saw all of his best moments. We didn't see many of his bad moments because they're just, they were really early in his career when you didn't know who he was. But his teams are 5-0 in win or go home games for his career in the playoffs. That's the only guy who has that kind of record. The Yankees were this close to scuttling that, and the one time, well, maybe the other time that Mariano Rivera didn't come up in a big spot, it happened to be that game where Schilling started and Alfonso Soriano hit the home run, and he left that game trailing, but his team came back. I mean, if they were trailing by 7, they wouldn't have come back. They were trailing by a tiny margin, and there was no margin for error, and his team did come back. And of course, like you said, talk. Hey, he only brought the Red Sox like the first World Series title. I mean, everybody does that.
No big
Look,
deal.
and in our little Fordham crew here, where we live and die the game, and we all saw it, and Schilling was, a foil to the Yankee fans in us from, from 2 fronts, right? From the Boston front and the Arizona front. I mean, anybody saw the guy, it says, what did our pal Mike Sarah say? Uh, Hold on, I'll get the quote. Mike, I'm quoting you. I hope you don't care. I really do not like Schilling. He's a loudmouth and a whiner. He's also a Hall of Famer. That sums it up. That sums it
Yeah,
up. It's a great
yeah,
job by Mike.
that's good. Big Mike. He's moved up to Big Mike now. After his
I don't know.
promotion, he's Big Mike now.
But it's true.
So
I mean, you saw him,
yeah,
right? You saw
yeah.
when you
I mean,
when you
100%. I
watched
mean,
him.
the guy was dominant, right? I mean, that's the thing. You always want to see, like, is he dominant? Is he dominant on the big stage? You know, yes and yes, right? I mean, you can't even disagree. You can't even make an argument about that, in my opinion. With that, um, it's unfortunate. I mean, when you start getting, especially when you get into baseball, starts to get into, what's the character? It was it, drug guys who, drugs for a while were keeping guys out at first from the Hall. Then they got thrown in the towel on that. PEDs, pretty much have still kind of held the line on the top line guys. The guys who are questionable, some guys have gotten in, we're not sure. The most headlining one guys have been stopped on that. Schilling, obviously very outspoken. Some, I guess, divisive. Maybe that's might be a good way to put it, right? Some guys love it, some guys hate it, right? So almost like anything else. Probably early guy on Twitter, which maybe is some of it too. That, like, we kind of all are on that now. We all sort of talking Twitter now, so everyone's over the top. Where Schilling is maybe a bit more of an early adopter with the megaphone out on that. Again, to me, I do think that character integrity are important for the game. I do think that's important for the Hall of Fame. I think, in fairness, you have to look at it while they're performing during their career. If the guy goes in and he gets selected for the Hall, and he's 45, and then when he's 55, he turns around and starts mouthing off this, that, whatever. I mean, they're not ripping guys out of the Hall in general. So if he says something after his baseball career, particularly he was in a broadcasting situation, half the time people are incenting that, right? People are tuning into that for that sort of edginess as well. Seems like that's just his way. I won't say he was doing that to grandstand. I think that's literally just him speaking his heart. To me, that's not a disqualifier. I mean, it's not a, it's not Rose. I'm, betting on, and gambling and whatnot, right? So I mean, it's not, it's nothing in his character, nothing in his saying, to my opinion, is enough to be a disqualifier for the Hall. And I think based on his book of his achievements on the field, I just don't see how the guy doesn't wind up getting in. But
well, here's a good comp.
but
Here's a good
16
comp.
short.
Here's a good comp, dog. I like the way you put it. Here's a good comp. You said there's a difference, at least in your opinion, or the way, maybe it should be. And was he like this and doing this sort of thing while he was actually playing, which, maybe there's one instance where you could say, okay, yeah, he was. And that was when the Red Sox won the World Series in 2014. He went on Good Morning America, and then he supported George W. Bush. Now think about in today's standards how
2004. Sorry.
Did I say 2014? I
Yeah.
meant 2004. Thank you.
Yeah.
By today's standards,
and that's
by
the worst.
Today's standards, that's LeBron James does that at every halftime interview with Doris Burke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, perhaps inappropriate, right?
Is it?
I mean, I say perhaps even. I mean, a bit out of place, but
how many athletes have done or gone on to do stuff like that? I mean, that's not even, that doesn't even make a blip today.
Sure.
People get disgusted. Okay, dude, I don't want to hear about your politics, or I'm supporting your guy, whatever. I mean, it's you like it if that's the candidate you support, and if not, it's it's a turn off and shut up and nobody wants to hear you, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But if that
was it,
if that was it, right? I mean, what else did he do as a player? I mean, I don't know if there are other instances. I don't really know about him. Somebody could
nobody cited it that I've read.
But there is a guy who is very clearly, in my opinion, Hall of Fame worthy, who did stuff during his career, and that's Albert Bell. So Albert Bell alienated
everybody.
Right? I guess he had some teammates that liked him.
Yeah.
I think Frank Thomas liked him. I mean, but Frank Thomas probably looks like the kind of guy that likes everybody, but Albert Bell, right? Albert Bell, look at his numbers. Remember him, right? And I don't know if he was ever grouped in with the steroid guys. I mean, it's possible, but you don't hear it. You know why, Doug? You don't hear it because he was so shushed aside and never really being considered because of the stuff that he did with reporters where, I mean, he was like, he was a jerk. He was a jerk to them. And then he had some stuff that was going on off the field, on Halloween, he was trying to allegedly maybe, run kids over or something, I mean, some crazy shit. But, I mean, he didn't actually kill anybody that I know of, but it didn't stop teams from signing him, the White Sox and the Orioles. And, after he left the Indians, where the guy was, I mean, in a shortened season, the guy had 50 homers and 50 doubles in a shortened season. Like, I mean, he was devastated. And it wasn't just like 1 year, right? It was like every year. And even when he wasn't that good toward the end of his career, he was still pretty good. Like, he was still pretty good. And maybe really good. But, and if you look at his numbers, I which I haven't now in a while, but I pretty much remember thinking, like, I mean, if this guy wasn't like a-hole number one, he'd moonwalk backwards into the Hall of Fame, like, with ease. So when you group now a guy like Schilling, you got to give him, look, his case is good, where he's saying, in his statement, he's being grouped in with Clemens and Bonds, who clearly cheated and lied about it. And he didn't, you might not have liked Schilling's answers, but he always answered the bell, and he always gave you a forthright answer, if I mean, if not one with a filter, right?
Yep.
And clearly, that's the reason why he's not there. Now, whether that is fair or not is really the argument at this point, right?
Yeah, and it's I said we kind of both said that I don't subscribe to it. I think while he was playing the game, he he did it in upstanding fashion. I mean, he actually, and again, taking Schilling's thing, right? He was saying like him and Jamie Moyer, were voted for like humanitarian awards by the same writers who won't vote for the guy now. So I mean,
Right. They got
humanitarian.
everyone available they want.
The guy was a tremendous pitcher who like just wins the World Series. Leads the Red Sox over the Yankees. That happens all the time. And because you don't like some of his political stuff he says afterwards, that's the reason not to vote the guy in. Pretty weak. I mean, listen, we talked a little bit on the side of it. I mean, once again, it just kind of opens up again for the baseball writers of, there's kind of almost always an issue with the Hall, which is unfortunate because it should kind of be hollowed and whatnot. And I don't know, they always seem to find a way to kind of make it difficult for it. And like I said, the last I heard, I mean, he wasn't like committing crimes and going against the bylaws of baseball, kind of like Pete Rose was afterwards, which I guess would be Pete Rose was fine, arguably fine. So I still remember Buddy Harrelson, but anyway, he was fine on the field, right? But then what he did afterwards was enough, and that was while he was still wearing the uniform too, right? As a manager. But I guess to kind of argue the counter argument there that that's just not, to me, it's not close.
Okay, our pal Jerry Milani chiming in the comments.
Jerry's gonna turn around and kill us in like 3 words, isn't he?
Yeah, I know he is, but that's okay. That's what Schilling goes with rope tree journalist and wants journalists to support him. I mean, that's fair. Albert Bell with 3 more, maybe 2 more Albert Bell years gets in. He waltzes in, and I think that. I think that's definitely true, but I think he was much close enough that if he didn't have the journalist, and off the field stuff. Actually, Jerry, clarify. Did you mean the rope tree journalist about Schilling or Albert Bell? I feel like that was an Albert Bell thing, not a Schilling thing.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I don't know that story, so I can't really comment on it.
So
pretty,
either way,
that's pretty hot. I'm guessing that's a reference to Schilling, but
I thought I feel like I don't know.
I'm trying to picture that one together. I'm gonna guess that's after he got voted. He didn't get voted by him for 8 years or so, but he was a little sore after that point. But
wow, look,
or maybe not.
Oh, Schilling. Okay, yeah, it was Schilling, as I pointed out first. I thought he made that comment while we were talking about Schilling. So good on me. Good on me.
Yeah. So nobody else was worthy either. So that was good. So should we transition to the rest of the class on there?
You know what? I don't know. Is it even worth it at this point? Like,
I don't know. 14 blank ballots. You know what? Take the vote away from them. You know what? If you can't find a single guy to vote for, these people up there for it, there's not one person guy that you can vote for. You know what? Give it up. Right? What statement are you making there? That's that to me is just that's ludicrous.
Yeah, that might be the call. I'm not gonna lie.
Fine, you don't want to, then don't. That's cool. You don't have to. There's plenty of other young guns who'd love to get your vote. The opportunity to go out and vote, do the right thing.
Dog, I feel like we could sit here and we could drone about each guy.
Vote on Gil Hodges. How about Gil Hodges? You want to make a statement like, "Oh, I want a good guy," blah 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 blah. I know he's not going to make it anyway. Don't send the blank one in. You know what? Vote for Gil.
Even though he's not on the ballot, I'm writing him in. I'm making him eligible.
I'm writing him in because he should be in. We all know that.
It's a statement. And if you'd like, we did a whole show about Gil Hodges earlier.
Yes, we did.
And it's pretty good.
Still should be. That was a good.
Go back, hit the archives. We did a lot of good stuff during the first off season that we were on, which was the COVID lead up season.
Pre-game.
And it was good stuff. But Dog, I feel like if we could sit here and we could go down and we could look at every guy in the ballot and give you the chances. You could just probably watch that on MLB Network. Yeah. I don't think we have to go through everything. That. They'll probably do a better job than we will anyway.
Will they? No.
Jerry Milani says Gil's not on the ballot, but I anticipated Milani posting that.
Who would you vote for then, Jeff? By the way, what is Milani's problem tonight? He's all fired up tonight.
He's coming after
you. Let me tell you what, Healy, I'm coming after you.
I noticed the Fordham Rams have fired their basketball coach. That's what his problem
Oh, the
is.
guy who's running around with no shirt on, no shoes.
No service.
That was crazy.
No,
Get out.
no, yeah,
No playoffs, no wins. How about just get out?
yeah. How about just go?
Yeah.
See ya. Okay,
Bye bye.
Dog. We've been. Let's pat ourselves on the back.
You gotta come now.
As
I'm about to say, I'll be honest. I'm a little fired up right now.
as I
Bring me
adjust
down here.
the white blazer that has not been approved by Rizzo Fashion. Rizzo Fashion, apparently a non-existent entity, at least in my book. JT Realmuto, back in Philly, 5 years, 115.5 million, which is 23 million a year. Dog, they hired Dave Dombrowski for just this. I believe we said it. I think we happened to be on
Mm-hmm.
the night that Dombrowski got hired. And I remember insisting, I'm like, this is the reason why you hired Dave Dombrowski. It just means that JT Realmuto is ending up back in Philly. And I gotta say, Dog, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm having a pretty phenomenal offseason. I mean, I've called like pretty much every one of these moves way before they happen, except for I will admit, I told you the Blue Jays were not going to spend on anybody, but they didn't have to spend 30 million on George Springer, and he came down to that bargain price of 25 million. And I'm pretty sure I did put that caveat in there. I'm like, well, if guys start going at bargain prices, and
I'm not entirely sure 150 is a bargain price. I will say.
compared to what everybody thought he was going to make,
He was talking higher, but I don't think. I think.
If you're talking 32, 33 million a year, you're getting him for 8 million a year less.
That was talking.
That's 50 million right there.
I
wanted 200 million.
I kind of remember us talking. Well, maybe we were just ahead of the curve on this a little bit. We were sort of talking 425, and the first one to get to 5 years, 525 gets it done. I believe was what we had initially said, and then he wound up getting that extra year. So,
well,
we'd have to pull the tape. I'm pretty sure you actually nailed the AV from what I remember. And I think we just kind of got down to, we kind of both agreed around that AAV, and it was just a question of how many years. And you were right, and that's when you were rightfully pointing out, like, getting even that 5th year for a 31-year-old center fielder, right? I mean, that's a biggie. So that's 6th year.
But in the American,
that one's going to leave a little mark there for Blue Jays in the back half.
In the American League, you have 2 options potentially of where to let him slide over. And if he's a center fielder, you hope that you can get away for, 5 of those years, maybe more, with him mostly being an outfielder, which helps you a lot. It hurts you when you have to spend it on just him being a DH. Yeah. And I think with Springer, I think there's a good chance that he could be an outfielder for most of this. He's not. I would give him 2 years tops.
Yeah, the guy's definitely an athlete, right? I mean, you can tell. He's not gonna fall apart on you generally, right? He's gonna lose a step, move from center to right. Maybe year 5, 6.
Yeah,
he's
I remember you
left fielder.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that about Baerga and Roberto Alomar. You're like, these guys are athletes. They're not going to fall off a cliff. Oh wait, sorry.
Where's my mute button? I thought we're trying to become a family show. Tim Melania on one side. You're right my snout right now. Where's the Diamond Dog?
Oh, Jerry's crushing right now. I can't believe. Wait, where's Uncle Paul?
I don't know. I need Uncle Paul to defend my honor.
Where's Uncle Paul?
Obviously, I'm trying to look at the camera for once rather than looking down doing the comments like I normally spend half the show.
I know. Well, I have like the phone open over there, but I have like I'm looking at the camera there, and I have like my other.
I had it all set up last on the home laptop. I had everything all set up. I had the iPad next to it. I was all set, ready to roll. And then it just up and died.
Like Fordham admissions, you need more RAM.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness, what a show. What a show. Okay. So Phillies, right? They're back in the mix. They're back in the mix.
That was good job for them.
Maker. That's your, you have your You have your Harper, you have your Realmuto, and this man, this NL East, right? The up and coming Marlins who have playoff experience.
The 10
Yeah,
million savings on Springer to McCann, that was one you called out big time.
yeah,
That can be big for the Metsies.
yeah. And
So
and they
that's
save
good
and they
value.
saved on a year. They saved on a year.
Yeah.
So think about this. Now we hear these rumors that Bauer got a 36 million a year offer of 2 years by the Mets, right? So think about that for a second, right? Think
I'm
about
not
that.
even sure how they could structure this, to be honest, but okay.
But
But I like that going for it. Go
yeah,
ahead. I'm
okay,
sorry.
72 million over 2 years. I mean, it's better than whatever that fake offer of 9 years, 324 million, which apparently was
That would be a
BS.
nightmare.
Um, so so think about it, dog, right? They get their catcher. And again, I want to see what the numbers pan out. Like, okay, if you were giving me both guys, Real Muto or James McCann, if you gave me my choice of either guy at, I don't care about like money, I don't care about years, whatever, then yeah, I'd take Real Muto. But when you give me 4 years at 10 million a year of James McCann and 5 years of 23 million, so $13 million difference per year and one less year, then I am taking McCann. Now, that's $26 million that you didn't pay that extra, juicy catcher. And if you wanted to apply that against the 72 million potentially that you would pay Trevor Bauer, right? That's all of a sudden, that's
Sorry.
that's like that's 25 million a year, right?
Yeah, I mean the only trick for the Mets is that, and why I think it's kind of pinched is there's clearly a gentleman's agreement that the Mets won't go over the cap for this first year, to me at least. That Cohen's basically like, I don't really care about it going forward. I mean, they've sort of repeatedly said the first year they want to remain under the cap. Part of that is you're going to sign Conforto, you want to sign Syndergaard down the road, extend Lindor at this point. But I mean, they were saying that even before Lindor coming in. So that to me sort of says that's kind of code for getting the approvals somewhat contingent on not blowing everybody up. So like weirdly, like the short contract is actually hard for the Mets to kind of structure, right? Because you can't really sort of crank it. Like if you didn't have that worry, you could say, hey, Cano's off the books for this year. Let's crank it up this year, and then next year we'll have some stuff dropping off. But like you can't really do that because you've got the agreement on the luxury tax. So it's kind of hard for me to kind of figure out how, like, are you going to do, I don't know, like 20, 25, 45 or something, or like how do you gonna work those numbers around? I mean, it's just hard to make those numbers work. And oh, by the way, like Cano's 24 million comes in next year until you get rid of them somehow. So it's a kind of a pickle for them to sort of figure out how they can get that. And I guess they are talking about potentially trading Mats or something like that. I even had a crazy one in my head. What if you trade Stroman? He's a 19 mil. I think he's okay value. I'm not a huge Stroman person, but if you went and told me, hey, for 32, look at 32 and trade Stroman for a center fielder, for a bunch of prospects or something like that. I mean, figure out how you want to kind of structure it around. Now that's a little interesting. So now you're only net adding 14 million, but you're strengthening your rotation from a Stroman to a Bauer. I don't know. I mean, that to me sort of starts to get interesting. I don't know if they can make that happen. It's tough. Again, it's tough to see if all those pieces can fall in place, right? Because who else has the dough to take on a Stroman?
Well,
Right.
I could think of
I
one
mean,
way that you could do this. You could pay Cano $3 million off the books to train for the Mr. Universe thing, and then he's not gonna be. Then he'll still just keep failing
free,
drug tests,
free,
and he'll be off the
free special
books.
hamburgers at City Field for
Yeah,
Robbie Cano.
yeah. Just
You know what? We'll ship it to you.
let him roid up in the Dominican, and then you can get him off the books that way. I don't know. That's an interesting point. I guess I didn't really consider it, but
Yeah.
I don't know, dog. The Blue Jays made that move when they felt that, the bargain was kind of coming to them.
Mhm.
That, look, in a regular market, they're not getting Springer. I'm actually even a little bit surprised that Springer didn't take the Met deal for less money that was there, because it wasn't at 5 for 125, so it
I
was,
believe so. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, he gave up, he would have been giving up the 25 million, and then, you could go figure out the numbers between paying taxes in New York versus Canada. Although
Yeah.
maybe they,
Going to the World Series versus going to Buffalo. Yeah.
well, I
So
don't know. I mean, he definitely helps. He definitely helps, right? I
yeah.
mean,
So
and you figure the Rays are going to take a little bit of a step back, right? Because they don't have Blake Snell anymore. The Red Sox are not back to being the Red Sox yet. Um, the Yankees look like they're
Yankees are
pretty,
strong. Yeah.
they're going to be favored for the division and probably for for the league overall, but that still leaves a lot of room there in wild cardville, and we know that you can win a wild card and go through and win a World Series. I mean, so he's going to help them there, and maybe they're taking advantage of a little, the Orioles are not there yet, right? I mean, they'd have to take a big jump to be a factor. So you're talking about three teams in the division that if you have the jump on them, you have a really, really good chance of just getting to the playoffs. And, that's where you talked about ad infinitum, right? Like this offseason. If you're a playoff team, a guy like Springer really, really, really helps you, especially then.
Yep.
You need him in the regular season if you're the Jays too, because you need to be able to win a lot of these games in order to just get there. And the getting there is not, it's not going to be as easy for the Jays just getting there as it was for the Astros to just get there when they were playing in, a subpar division every season. But this is not, I was going to say, it's not your father's AL East. It's not our AL East talks. It's where we're like, our father's ages now, whatever that means. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Um, it's this is the NL East is a different story. I mean, you could have those three teams, if everybody plays even with each other within the division, you could have five teams over 500 at 500 or above. I mean, it would be very hard to do, but I mean, any team in the NL East could win the NL Central. Is that even like, am I stretching? I'm not really
No.
stretching, I don't think. I don't think I'm stretching.
Yeah.
Not the NL West, but the NL Central, yeah. And you have at least two teams in the NL West that could win the NL Central, right?
Yep. Yep.
So you could
Absolutely.
have you could have that whole division, play 500 or above if everybody's going, pretty equal with it. Like, if you have it lopsided where one team is beating the hell out of another, if they beat them 15 times out of, what is it, 18, then yeah, the team on the wrong side of that is not going to be above 500 unless they play like crazy. But yeah, it's really interesting the way that things are shaping up here, dog. Let's see. Springer, Bauer,
Oh,
blah,
we got
blah, blah.
Hand going to the Nats. That one kind of hurt.
Yeah.
So Mets have wanted to bring Hand in for a while as a lefty reliever. And we sort of said basically the Mets had like the same offer. It's just that Hand wanted a chance to show the closing ability and go for a bigger contract next year. And you can't argue. I mean, that's a good reason. I'm gonna do it, and stinks he's gonna be within the division too. Um, Hopefully we can smack him around a little bit and knock that down a little bit. But good move by him to kind of get that and reestablish his value, and then and get back out. So Metsi's missed on that one. So they're starting to get a little interesting, around here now. Did we talk Porter? I don't remember.
I don't
Didn't
know.
it happen like that happened like
Was that?
right after?
It was
Yeah, you know
right
what?
after the
We
show.
had
It
the
was after the
trade.
show
Yeah,
that
we had the
night.
trade. That's right. We thought we were breaking the news of the trade because they had the
Yeah.
trade of the pitcher coming in for the Mets, the number 5 guy, and yeah, that was like right before with the 3-way deal with the Pirates and the Padres.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, the whole Porter thing. I don't know. What a mess, but
And
whatever.
here I thought you
Unfortunately, Mets did the right thing. What's that?
were going to segue into Cesar Hernandez re-signing with the Indians, and instead,
Yep.
dog likes to play with fire.
I
That's
know.
why he's our dog.
go all over the place.
Dwayne wants the Mets to bring back Justin Wilson. Well,
I
look
think that's probably likely, actually, at this point.
again the Jared Porter stuff. I mean, pretty straightforward. How
Can't
much
do
is
that.
there to be? How much is there to be said about it that hasn't like? What are we going to say? That's
The hand wringing
what are
over
we
the
adding?
fact they didn't hire the fact they didn't fire the guy faster than 8 hours from a Sunday night to Monday morning was extraordinarily breathless, I thought, on some of the stringers for the Mets. There was some chirping that basically, I don't know, did they expect Sandy Orlson to fire the guy on Twitter at like 11 o'clock on like Sunday night after the ESPN announcement? He said exactly what every organization I've ever worked for would say. We don't agree with this, and we're looking, we're evaluating the situation, et cetera, et cetera. The lawyers are drafting up everything overnight that we're going to fire the guy, and 8 a.m. the next morning, the guy's fired.
I mean,
I
I thought
I'm going nailed it straight on, and it's funny, like all the like the hand wringing and angst on it. I'm like, what exactly do you expect them to do? I'm like, that is what a responsible organization does, you know. So I thought that was sort of, and Seven Line actually had a problem when the CBS Sports Minute guy was taking shots at Sandy over the handling situation. Like I said, I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I meant that guy handled it completely like a professional. What else? I mean, for once, the Mets actually went out and I think did it right down by the numbers, right the way you're supposed to do it. They weren't unfair to the employee. They weren't unfair to the organization. They did exactly the way they laid it out. And what happened happened.
Well, again, what are we gonna?
Another interesting one nobody's talked about is, what did Theo know? I've heard nobody talk about that.
I know.
But Theo was around there at that point.
Right. It's because it's
all of a sudden she's not showing up at the press pool anymore. That couldn't have been that much of a mystery in that organization. It's all I'm saying.
No, I don't know. It's. I mean, it's a fair question, and it's a fair thought that should be examined. But it seems like she really, just wanted the anonymity because she was afraid of what the blowback was going to be in her country, like against her, where the women, in particular, who are victims of these things, end up being treated like the people that are the ones that made violations against them. I mean,
and
100%.
I mean,
There's a lot of look. What are we going to bring? Like, if we have something to add to it and something to bring here that's a different point of view or a better perspective, I think that's when we jump in and start attacking the subject. And I don't know that we do. Like, I'm not going to be able to say it better than a female reporter who's been through this stuff. Like, and is it possible that we could have somebody like that on? We reached out to somebody who would have been probably someone who could have shed a lot of light and given us a different opinion, and she declined to come on fairly, and that's fine. So we did actually reach out to someone who we felt would have been adding something to this. But the questions about Theo Epstein, yeah, it's fair. I think there's other questions. I mean, if we're talking about advancing the story and advancing the cause, right? Like, ESPN people, admittedly, a small handful, knew about this story from the time it was happening, pretty much, or shortly thereafter. They could have reported this at any time, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether the source was agreeing to it or not, it makes me feel like there was definitely some coaxing behind the scenes to say, hey, look, this guy is now in a real position of power. Do you want to revisit like what we talked about, what we know happened, and come public with it now? And honestly, if you're a reporter and you're somebody with a conscience about these kinds of things that really are way beyond the scope of like sports, right? Then that's you should do that, right? Like, whoever had this, I think it was Mina Kimes that was the main writer on the story. So my guess is that she was close with this source and has been in touch with her the whole time, and could have pulled the trigger on it essentially at any time, with or without the source's agreement. If you know the story, you could report on it. You don't need their permission.
Yep.
Is it the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? I don't know. That's
Yep.
up to the person to make that decision, and I'm certainly not going to judge anybody for their judgment on it. But there's look, I mean, the guy did it. He admitted to it. There wasn't, I mean, he basically he was riding it until he got caught, and you know, it's not a silver lining, dog, but at least we haven't heard 23 more stories of other people that this happened to with him. At least there's that. I mean, because
True.
how many times? I mean, that's been this sort of
Historically,
thing.
that's the case, right?
Yeah, this sort of thing has been, it comes out and there's one person has the bravery to admit it, and I think the lady's brave for admitting it, even with the under the condition of anonymity, to be honest with you, because she doesn't feel anonymous talking about it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, but thankfully, well, I never say never, but thankfully, at least so far, it doesn't appear, and with the early returns, that this was more than an isolated incident. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's not a silver lining because it did happen, right?
Yep.
But I don't
It's
know.
good to know there's not more victims
It,
out there, at least at
thank
this
you,
point.
thank you,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you for getting that, helping me get that. That's why they call him the dog, because he's Riz's
Well,
best friend. What else do we got? Okay,
I don't know.
on to lighter things. Diamond Dads.
Ah, there we go.
Last time.
I think the computer's on there now.
Last time. Well, did your kids mess it up? Last time it was the dog's water bill. So if you haven't caught
Yes.
that, go back and listen to
Oh boy.
Diamond Dads about the 1 hour mark on last show, and I guarantee there will be entertainment until the cows come home for you.
I have a little postscript on that one too now.
Oh boy. Oh,
That
let's hear
my shower is now leaking a little bit too.
it.
So
Uh-oh.
all the thousands of gallons that were going through whatever, apparently some are finding a little hole to sneak out into my closet. So which I thought I had fixed, but apparently not well enough. So that started to leak too. That was after the show I found that one out. So some of the 42,000 gallons a month or so, whatever. So maybe 10, 15 or so went in my rug. So I got that going for me too.
Boy, you're on a roll with the plumbing.
I am on a roll. Did I mention my computer died?
Yeah. Did you have your computer in the closet underneath the leak?
Exactly. Bookshelf. Bookend.
Jeez.
So
Tough one for the dog.
yeah, tough week.
Let's see. What did I have prepared for Diamond Dads? I don't know. You go, dog.
Yeah, I just been cranking away on here. So what we had on the good stuff. We had the my number 5 is looking at high school now. So he's done his placement stuff for our magnet schools in Union County, and he's also filling in for a local high school here as well. So that's making you feel kind of old. And then number 6 is just a year behind. So we're almost done in middle school. So which is it's been a ride. Been a long ride for Healy's on that one. So let's see. So with that going on, yeah, the computer dying. That was a fun one on there. I could do the laptop. We could do actually, speaking of the laptop, we were talking about this before my other laptop actually died too. So I had my fancy schmancy MacBook Air I get for Katie because she's going down to school and going to do like whole graphic stuff and TV and film and all that sort of stuff. So she's using that up. So that promptly dies, of course, because Apple, supposed to make product never breaks down, blah 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 blah. Yeah, whatever, dies right away. So try and do Apple Care, get it, take care of somewhere. It's like nothing. It's, there's like 2 stores in like North Carolina, neither one can take it. Nothing around here, for whatever reason. And so yeah, my basic answer is I have to go buy like another MacBook. So I have to buy a MacBook Pro from 2015 because that's when they didn't suck. So they built up the reputation that it's supposed to be great. So I have to go back and buy one of those on eBay, get it shipped to me. I haven't even seen it if the thing turns on yet. It did arrive. We'll see. So I get that. So then after all that, I finally get my son's old laptop, which is what I use. And that just died. And that's actually, I'm sure, from another Windows update that got screwed up. And I had to debug for like hours. I think I had fixed it, and it probably went updated again and blew it up again, is what I'm guessing. So
The
I got
Windows
all
update.
that going for me.
The Windows update has been giving Debbie Rizzo,
So maybe I'm a
our
sure thing.
graphic designer, by the way, made our lovely logo that you see up there. Raise the roof for Debbie,
There
fashion
you go.
consultant, not consulted on this episode. Uh, yeah, that's been scuttling her remote desktop, like as that Windows update. And then Rizzo Automation, Dominic and Xavier Rizzo have been trying to help her with that issue, especially that's more of Dominic's area. But Dog, you got to contact the boys at Rizzo
I
Automation
should
when you
reach out
need
to
those
Rizzo Automation.
laptops. They have inventory. They have inventory. You got to
There you
do
go.
that. You're killing it.
All
You're
right.
killing me.
Might be driving up.
Yeah.
Swing by.
And there's a little there's the dog Christmas gift bag still that I haven't delivered. You know why? Because there's still like hockey keeps getting canceled. Like we finally the girls went back to practice Monday for the first time in like 2 weeks. And then Luisa was actually supposed to have her first JV game today, and then it got
Oh,
canceled because of the sprinkling of snow,
oh.
apparently, which is ironic. You're canceling a winter sport because it's snowing, even though you're playing it
It might
indoors.
be a tenth of inch of ice.
Yeah, I don't know. So she was going to make her JV debut today. That didn't happen. Who knows if there'll even be enough games at this point for high school hockey. And the club hockey will be back. She'll be back on the ice this weekend, and yours truly will be there to bring it to you live on
Nice.
I think I'm doing them on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe I'll carry those links over to Facebook too. I've done some on Facebook. I moved them all over to YouTube. It's a little easier that way. So I'll be a little rusty. I got to get back into the play by play, and yeah, I'm taking some seminars to keep my hockey coaching certifications up. So we got that. That's sort of I think that's kind of dad related, right? Like I guess
100%.
theoretically you don't have to be one to do that. But that came up, and the Rizzo automation, like that's a biggie. It's always going on. Rizzo to go follow them on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. I don't know. They're good. They're good. If you have any electronics or whatever that need fixing or trading, or you want to acquire something, those guys hit those guys up. They really. It's
Nice.
kind of funny. I didn't teach them anything, but they just seem to know how to do it. I've kind of bankrolled it as my retirement plan. That's a diehard dad thing, then, right?
That is a diehard dad.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or I see. I pulled a Healy. I called it a diehard dad instead of a diamond dad.
Oh, maybe we
Yeah,
should change
whatever.
it. Maybe we should be diehard dads.
Maybe we should. Let's see. Diamond
We sort of
dads.
feel like more diehard dads.
Yeah, we kind of do. I think you're right.
Definitely not a diamond dad. The
Diehard
diamond
dad.
dog, the diehard dads. There we go.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I made the note. Let's see if it'll come up. It's a
Nope.
screen thing. Whatever.
You know
It's
what it is.
I crossed it out. I crossed out diamond and wrote diehard dads. Yeah, so we'll do diehard dads for you from now on. And if you have any I see a couple of people in checking us out, Kelly and Stephanie. I know those are diehard moms right there. So if you have any diehard parent stories, we want to hear them. Share them in the chat. Share them now or whenever you're watching this. I think Dog that should probably be our out. What do you think?
I think so.
Should that be our out for the show?
Yeah, I think we left it all on the floor tonight.
I hope we did.
We left it all on the diamond.
Wow. On the field.
On the field.
Yeah.
On the
diamond
mound.
in the field. On the mound.
Still bring it. Still can bring it. One pitch. Not a second.
You know it's coming. You know it's coming. It's just a matter if you could hit it. Which with the dog, it might hit you.
That's not untrue.
That's part of the allure.
Wouldn't dig in.
Okay. Visit our pals at fmsgraphics.com for all of your printing and promotional needs. It's easy to use and your products will arrive quickly. fmsgraphics.com is where it's at. Dog, you'll have to go back and listen because you missed the beginning, but I had a nice little thing about how Curt Schilling won't need to use fmsgraphics.com to print out his little acceptance into the Hall of Fame cards, which is kind of a shame because, our guys over there at fmsgraphics.com probably could have used the business. They would have been happy to do those Hall of Fame cards, even if it had a picture of a Red Sox and Arizona Diamondback that beat the Yankees on it. Whatever. Dog, you know what? If people want to listen, not just to this one, but to go back and hit the archive or find our future shows, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. That's where you get the audio. If you're out on your power walk, you're running on your treadmill, whatever. If if you can't watch it, or you just want to have it as your background noise, go subscribe there. Give us a listen. Give us some feedback.
You could pull the Jerry Milani and listen like 1.5x. Which,
Yeah,
by the way, we're absolutely hilarious. 1.5x.
I know.
We're pretty good. It takes up those little gaps. Very hard hitting. Quickie.
Sometimes 2 times fast is a little too much. And if you
only
do it
Jerry can do that. I can't do that.
Spotify, you could do 3 times. It's kind of funny. And if you want to hear what it sounds like me and Dog on St. Patrick's Day, do it at half speed. Go do it on half speed now. You'll get a real good idea of March 17th every other year except last year, what that sounds like. But we also want you to go watch us on the Facebook group right here. If you're live right now, then
we look good right now.
Thank you for that. We thank you for that. We also have a Facebook page. That's the one geared more toward business. We're on Twitch, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. We're at Diamond Diehards everywhere, including Instagram. We don't do that much with the Instagram stuff, though, but eventually probably we will if we find ways to integrate all this stuff. And we are talking behind the scenes about so many great things, and we're working out. Like we've been putting out there that the guests are coming on. It's coming. It's coming. We're nearly ready for that. And if you follow our Twitter, you might get a little insight into some of that. You might. You might not, but you might.
Little tease out there.
I think that is going to do it for another show. Part of it difficult as we say goodbye in our way to Hammerin Hank Aaron, and we discussed the fact that we elected nobody to the Hall of Fame for 2021, but we'll have inductions in that time of the summer from the 2020 crew, including Derek Jeter. And we gave you the JT Realmuto staying in Philly stuff and all the other player news and movement, and even did a little piece about we got the Jared Porter thing in there too. So I think that covers a newsworthy and enormous week in baseball. Dog, I have a feeling this might not be our only show this week, but we'll have to see. And if baseball is your thing and you also like mixed martial arts, go follow my other show, Rear Naked Choke Radio. It's not a curse. It's nothing disgusting. It's when you choke somebody out from behind. And after the Conor McGregor fight, you're going to want to go check that out. We're doing some really great things over there. It's not. It just means that you have no gi on. You have no gi. It's a naked choke as opposed to
pants.
As opposed to I'll try to do it with as opposed to a lapel choke, which is what you do with the gi. You could use the lapel to choke. A naked choke means there's no accoutrement on which to grab to assist you in the choke.
Or underwear.
So that's or whatever you call it. Doesn't matter. It's not a disgusting term. It's a technical term, and people get it. And I'm also Rear Naked Choke on Twitter. I'm never going to give that up. I don't care. It's just that's going to whoever in my family wants it. It's going to be in like the will. Yeah. So go check that out if you can and if you want to, and don't forget fmsgraphics.com because they're making this happen right now as well. And Mascolo Group Realty. Elevate Fitness. Who else? They're getting cheap mentions, freebie mentions. So that'll be it for that. I think we are going to wrap it up there. Stay tuned on the Facebook site and Twitter and everywhere you find us to see when we'll be back on. You never know. Most of the time we just pop in. Other times we'll try to do it with a little bit of notice. So if you want to join us live, then you're welcome to do that. That's going to wrap it up from here. For the Dog, Jeff Healy, this is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.